can be what you wanna be. Be what you wanna be. You just be what you wanna be with me.
Good morning, beautiful people. Welcome to another episode of Happy AF. My name is Sam Bowker, and I'm so excited that you're here joining me today. So, what are we going to talk about today? Well, firstly, I want to start, I guess, with a little bit of a story because I had the most amazing weekend seeing a show called Jagged Little Pill. Now, if you're in Australia, you might know about this show. It was with an amazing cast. One person in particular, Natalie. It's the last name I should be fucking up, not her first name. Her first name is Nat. Natalie, not super hard. Last name is Bassingthwaite. And as a young human being, I mastered saying her last name because I thought it was the coolest name ever. And she was super cool. Anyway, I digress. That's not really part of the story. But she was the lead of this show, okay? And I went and saw it very impromptu, like I wasn't prepared, and I kind of at the last minute got to go and see this show last week on Thursday. In fact, after filming my episode. So it was a very big day. And I knew kind of what the theme of this show was, but the thing I really did know about it was that it was all to Alanis Morissette music. And if you were like me, if you were an 80s baby and you grew up in the 80s, all right, well, I'm a 70s baby, but I was a teenager in the 80s, Alanis Morissette was pretty much like my youth, right? There is a song for every single part of my life. The song's, ironic and just like, I don't even know the names of them, but I know the words of every single song. And if you have ever had a musician who you have adored like I adored this chick, it was like my youth, right? And so anyway, I went and I saw this show on Thursday and I cried from the moment I sat down pretty much to the end. And at the end of the show, and it was a bit awkward, like, let's be honest, because I was on a date with someone I've only really just kind of met, but we've gone pretty deep and we've had some pretty deep conversations. And like the general theme of this show, okay, if you know Alanis Morissette, you will know her music is pretty deep and pretty intense and grungy, and there's a lot of pain, right? And, as a teenager, I went through like what most teenagers do. I went through a lot of pain and a lot of trauma and, and everything feels much bigger when you're a teenager. And it was really interesting sitting through this show because it was like reliving moments of my childhood and feelings and experiences that I'd been through, right? Traumas and heartaches and pain and like conflicts. And then as a mother, going through the next part of this sort of musical, I was experiencing it knowing now that I'm a mother and seeing the mother's perspective of this entire experience. So I initially was like never going to take my daughter because I thought it was a bit too deep and heavy. And then after seeing it, I was like, I have to take my kid to see this because there was just so many relevant concepts that are going on right now in the world, right? Being an upstander versus a bystander. So many children struggling with their sexual identity and, like pansexual, demisexual, gay, bisexual, all of these different really intense themes, which my 11-year-old is constantly talking about. So, drug addiction, saying the right thing, experiencing and seeing something, and then wondering whether you should speak up or keep quiet for fear of the ramifications of if you speak the truth. And so the reason I wanted to open my show with this today is that what it made me realise at the end of this show, because this friend of mine was like, wow, so that was kind of intense. And I said, yeah, it really was. For me, it was this cathartic experience, right? Like I loved it. I loved the music. I loved the show. I loved everything about it. And for me, it was quite healing. He sat there and watched it and he thought it was an amazing show, but he didn't experience it the same as me. And he was then asking lots of questions like, what, so why was that upsetting for you? And what did that mean for you? And so it opened up a dialogue, I guess, for us to have a conversation about, experiences that I'd had in life. But it also made me realise something, which I think is really important for all of you guys to understand. You see the world through the lens of your own camera, okay? So you cannot experience things the way someone else experiences them because you can have a look at something, you can watch an event occur, and you are going to be seeing it through your own coloured lens based on your own life experience. Now, why is this important? Well, are you in a relationship? Do you have a relationship with a partner or a child or a friend or a boss, right? Anybody who you are in relationship with, right? When you are going through experiences with them, they are going to be seeing it through their lens based on their life experience, and you are going to be seeing it through yours. And so, what happens in life is that one of the biggest challenges human beings have is that when they go into conflict with each other, it's because they are seeing it through their lens, you're seeing it through yours, and you get into this, well, how come, why did you do that? And why are you thinking like that? And I was just trying to help. And no, I wasn't trying to be controlling. And everybody has their own narrative, okay? And what's interesting about that narrative is that narrative becomes your reality and it becomes your belief system. And how well you handle that will determine how well you handle life. So it was a really interesting process for me to go through on the weekend because there were some pretty heavy topics in there, but they're all things that I've been through and healed and done an awful lot of work on. So I was emotional because it's so relevant, right? And because I have a little girl, obviously, you know, if you're a parent, you worry about the themes and the concepts that were in this show. But it was so interesting for me because it made me realize A, how far I've come, B, how I am allowed and how I allow myself, I should say, not allowed, how I allow myself to do vulnerability today versus how I would have not allowed that. Like I would never have been able to experience what I experienced the other day and be okay with that in front of a person, certainly not in front of a guy, and most definitely not in front of a guy that like I'm on a date with. But I knew that that was what the show was going to be like. I knew that I would be emotional, and I actually wanted him to come and take part in that with me because I knew that in my heart it was like, this is a good healing process. This is to take someone and share that part of you. Like that's something that we don't do as human beings. So I really wanted to share this with you guys because I think, you know, my show is called Happy AF, right? And I really want to help everybody live a life where they are happy and free and happy and fun and they get to have all these great moments, right? Happy as fuck, as you know. But the reality is I want people to do happy, but you can't do happy if you don't understand how to move through life and deal with your stuff. Right? You can shove it under the rug for as long as you like, but I'm telling you, at some point, that rug will end up being so messy that you'll trip over it and it will bring you undone. And so I found it a really interesting process. And so the next thing I want to share with you is that prior to going down to that, going down to see that show, I was feeling not well, right? I had a massive headache. My body wasn't feeling good. And I realized there was two reasons because I have a belief about your physicality. Now, some people believe that they catch a sickness or they hurt themselves, they get sick, all of those types of things. My belief is slightly different, right? And if this lands for you, great. If it doesn't, let it go. It's not important. But my belief is that physical illness comes up in our body as a result of untreated trauma. Okay? And look, you know, you can feel free to debate this with me. It doesn't matter. This is my belief, right? But what's interesting is I had a headache all week last week because I was setting up a film studio and I felt really pushed beyond my comfort zone. And so my body was fighting me, right? All week. I didn't feel well. I felt unwell. Like that's the most simple way I can put it. And for me, whenever I am beyond my comfort zone, whenever I am pushing the boundaries, my body is the place that will show up because I've learned how to push through my mind, right? I've learned how to push through the fear. I've learned how to go, it's okay, soldier on, jump off the cliff, you'll have wings. Like I've learned how to talk my way through things. So my body is the last line of defense. So it will be my back or it will be a headache, right? So I had a headache all week. I went on Thursday and I went and got a whole heap of needles in my body, in my neck, and I started feeling a bit better. And then I went to the doctor and I got a bit of painkillers because I thought, you know what, I want to really, you know, nail this. And then I decided to go and do this show with this guy. And then I started feeling really sick. And I really believe that the reason that I started getting even sicker later in the day was because I had made that decision to go to this show. I knew I was going to be vulnerable. I was uncomfortable. So I was like, now, like I've managed to push through the boundaries of work. I've managed to build a studio. I've managed to, you know, be really uncomfortable in the workspace. This is my kryptonite. Like relationships are my kryptonite. I've never done them successfully. When I talk about relationships, in this case, I'm talking about with a significant other, with a partner, with a man. I've never done it successfully. And so here I am. I've just like managed to smash my way through the work week. And now I'm going to go and do the whole relationship thing, right? And so I started feeling really unwell and I cancelled and I caught myself. Like I actually rang and said, I can't do this. I feel really unwell. I can't do it. Then I took some painkillers and I realized, like I caught myself. Oh my God, check this out. You're now going into a space of vulnerability with your body. You're now worried about going and sharing this experience with a bloke. Oh my God. And so in that moment, I was able to catch myself again and go, nope, we're not doing that. We're going to go. We're going to soldier on. We're going to get down there. It's going to be amazing. And so why is this important to you? I want you to ask yourself, okay, now if you can resonate with what I've just shared, all right, if you can resonate that, your body will either be fighting for you or fighting against you, my question is this: what is it that you are wanting to do right now, and what is it that gets in your way? Is it your mind? Is it the story that goes on in your head that says, it's not going to be any good, you're not going to be any good, there's other people better than you, who do you think you are? Is it your critic that's really, really loud? Or do you find that whenever you are ready to go and do something that you really, have been planning for a while, you get sick? For me, it used to be holidays. Whenever I would go on a holiday, that's when I would get sick. And so for years, I was like, well, that's it. I'm not going on holidays. I'm not doing the whole holiday thing. But I realized that the reason that I would get sick on holidays is because that would be when I would rest and put myself in a state where I could start being vulnerable and start thinking about things and stop being so busy, right? Having that busyness as a badge of honor that I used to have. And I would get sick. And so I had to reframe that. I had to go, okay, well, you know what? Holidays are great. Holidays give me time to rest and reflect. And I actually now have had to schedule holidays in the same way I schedule work, because otherwise I'm a workaholic. So my big goal for this year was to have lots of fun and to have impromptu get-togethers and to work on connecting and finding a relationship and to work on just really going on holidays and taking time out. And so I had to schedule that stuff. And my body's fought me all along the way. I was supposed to go to Fiji in January. Of course, that's when I got COVID, right? So now I'm scheduled to go to Fiji in a couple of weeks. I was supposed to do my business mastery training back in January. Again, that's when I got COVID, because business mastery is about me leveling up my business. This studio, I've wanted to build this for 7 years. I only did it like last week, and all week I didn't feel well. And the only thing I'm telling you now that allowed me to push through was that I had somebody else doing it with me, and I wasn't by myself, and I couldn't use any excuse. So I got to soldier through. And so I'm finding at the moment like I'm in this space of complete discomfort all of the time. Right? My brain, my critic is really loud, my body's hurting, my back has been hurting for the first time in ages, because I know that I'm in this process of leveling everything up, right? And so I want you to ask yourself, do you know where you're going in life? Do you know what's important? What are you doing with your life right now in terms of your relationships, in terms of your health? Where is the area that you want to work on, right? Where is your biggest struggle right now? If it is in your relationships, what's happening in your relationships? Are you going into a place of, oh, he always says this, or she always says that, or I don't know how I can make this work. They're always blaming me, because they're not looking at it through your lens. And are they actually saying these things, or are you making stuff up in your own head? Because a lot of the time, what's happening is you're actually making up stories that other people aren't even involved in. You're just placing them in your movie, and you're making up a story based on your own life experience, and you're making assumptions about how they feel about something. And chances are it's not even true. It's just a story. So I really want to question you and challenge you, and I guess give you this opportunity to go out there today and have a look at the area of your life that is working or is not working, and go, all right, well, what is it? What is it that I need to change? What lens am I looking through? Who have I got to support me on this journey? Do I know where I'm even going, right? I woke up this morning and my brain was exploding with ideas, okay? And the reason it was exploding with ideas is because I gave myself permission. Like over the weekend, I went and saw Jagged Little Pill twice because I decided I then had to take my daughter. Had to, chose to, knew it was a must. I made it a must, right? I went and saw Jesus Christ Superstar. Again, completely impromptu, but I saw someone post something on Facebook and I was like, oh, that sounds like a good thing to do. And I just said yes because I made a plan. Excuse me. I made a plan, right? I made a plan that I was going to have fun. I made a plan that I was going to go on impromptu adventures. But I had to actually plan that. Now, I know that sounds ridiculous, right? I actually had to plan my impromptu events. And I kind of joke a bit about this 7 Ps, right? Proper preparation and planning prevents piss poor performance. It's the 7 Ps, yeah? And it's the 7 Ps to freedom because if you don't plan shit, you don't get to have freedom. And my old story was completely opposite to that. It was like, oh, I don't want to schedule stuff. If I have to schedule stuff, it's all rigid. Like, I'm so easygoing. The plan is there is no plan. And so the reality is that I never knew if I was on track. I never knew where I was going. And I don't really know how I ended up feeling most of the time. So, like, I know that this might sort of seem like a strange concept, but ask yourself, what is important right now? And just pick one area of your life. Are you going to focus on your business? Is it your health? Is it your career? Is it your finances? Is it your relationships, right? What do you want to focus on? Pick one area and then ask yourself, what are the things that you need to do to level up in that area of your life? And get prepared for discomfort because it's going to be uncomfortable, okay? It will not be comfortable. Again, it's not called growing fun. It's called growing pains. But the more uncomfortable it is, the greater the growth. And the greater the growth, the further you go. So I'm really embracing this discomfort at the moment. As I've mentioned, nothing feels comfortable right now. I'm going into a space where I'm like, okay, but the story I have around the discomfort is, well, I'm growing a lot, right? I know that I'm progressing. I know that I'm moving forward. So I've got a bunch of balls at the moment that I'm juggling, okay? And I don't really believe in balance. When people talk about, oh, I want to have a balanced life, to be honest, I don't think that's reality. I think that there is areas of your life that can be more balanced, but to say that you have a balanced life and you've got just the right amount of work and just the right amount of finances and your health is just about right, I don't actually believe in that. What I believe in is setting goals in particular areas of your life and working towards them. And at times, what that's going to look like is sometimes you might be sleep deprived, or sometimes your bank account might look a bit low, or sometimes your food might not be as good as it wants to be. But wherever your focus is, wherever your attention is in that moment, that's where your energy and flow is going to be. So just pick one area today, right? For me lately, it's been my business and fun and connection with my friends. My health is kind of like not been as great as it was before, but before it was all about my exercise. And so I wasn't spending as much time connecting with people. So I really believe that you have to have a vision for all of these areas of your life. You can't just have a vision for one place and then wonder why you're not getting where you want to go. So when you go out there today, I want you to think about this, okay? What is going well in your life right now? What would you like to improve? And what is going to be your area of focus? Just this week, pick one thing. That's about all I've got to say today, guys. I'm a bit pumped and excited about what happened on the weekend, and I'm a bit pumped and excited about where I'm going. And I'm going to be going a lot further. There's a lot more to come. Everything is a little nerve-wracking for me at the moment, as I mentioned, because I'm now doing this not by myself. So, yeah, stay tuned and enjoy the fumbling ride with me. Take care, guys. Love you lots. This is Sam Bowker signing out for another episode of Happy AF, and I will see you next week. Big hugs. Bye.